And hello, welcome to the Dirty Casuals Corner. I'm joined by
Sean. Sean as usual.
and our mysterious guest, Santiago,
The spirit of Santiago.
the spirit, the ghost, the Holy Spirit of Santiago,
How are we doing, you guys?
Of course, the main host.
and the main host, Edwin. So, just wanted to briefly fill out my notes and just.
Before we start here,
Yeah.
what are we drinking today?
Oh yeah, the most important question here of the day: do you fold or do you clump?
Oh, we're going that. That's not drinking.
Well,
Well, because here,
we could do it after.
let me see here. See, because I'm not some kind of barbaric caveman. I fold.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
How you wipe your ass, man?
Oh my fucking god.
So when you have your toilet paper,
Do you
just
clump the
you just
paper
clump it up.
or do you fold it?
What are you, caveman?
Exactly.
Exactly. So as you can already tell, we're civilized men.
Sophisticated, cultured.
We're wild beasts tamed by society. But anyways, alright. So right now we're drinking Bud Light Platinum.
The superior Bud Light.
You know what? I gotta admit, I thought it tastes like shit. Like red water. It's actually pretty good. I'm impressed.
I enjoy it.
So
It's good
let's
stuff.
bring it in. Look at him. Get over here. There
Santi's
we go.
clanking with us, but he's here only in spirit.
Yeah.
Maybe his ghost will chime in with some opinions if he so chooses.
Don't forget the Sapporo.
Oh yeah, I have a Sapporo on me on the side, which I've been sipping at for a little bit. So anyways, I guess we should start off with Sean.
Let's
since
jump
you have
in.
something
So
with anime.
let's recap about what we've been watching, anime wise or other words, the past 2 weeks. So for me, starting off, Fate Apocrypha, of course, another spin-off of the Fate series.
I got nothing bad to say about it.
I would say the story is awful, god awful, and
What?
the story is complete garbage. But it's got action, and it's got a lot of it, and I think the action is very well done. That's about the nicest thing I could say about it.
Is it done by UFO Table?
I don't recall. It might be.
Okay,
It really
because if
is.
it is, then it's probably.
Actually, I feel like it's not.
Okay.
Just based on what I've seen,
Studio
I
D.
would guess it's not. It's definitely not Studio Dean, though. We all know about Studio Dean.
We never talk about Studio D.
Tell me about the story.
The story is so you've got so the standard Fate story or setting is that you have 7 servants of the Holy Grail who fight each other until one is standing, and that person, that servant and mage will win the Holy Grail and get a wish granted of them. This one's a slightly different format. It's before it's kind of a bit before like Fate Stay Night story would have happened. Even Fate Zero is, I believe, a precursor to that as far as timeline. But you have 2 teams of 7 servants fighting each other instead. You've got the black team and the red team. And all you need to know is that there's a great trap in it, and there's good action.
All I heard was trap and shit.
Trap and shit.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
I mean, I'm just kind of surprised that a Fate series would kind of have such a strict. I don't know,
Well-
because the last one I saw involved this Shield character and Speedwagon.
You're thinking of Fate Grand Order.
Yeah, Grand Order.
That one's mostly the phone game. I believe they're doing an anime, or maybe they did an anime of that.
They did a
At least
kind
maybe.
of a episode 0 thing,
Right.
like a promotion thing, maybe.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Definitely not Camilla Friends status, that's for sure. Not even 10 episodes.
That's hard to top.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on. Inuyashiki, if you don't know, that one is so first of all, I didn't know who wrote the story. I went into it completely blind. After watching the second episode, actually probably about 10 minutes into the second episode, I knew exactly who wrote it. And it's the writer of Gantz. And so if you know anything about Gantz,
I know of it.
if you know anything about Gantz, you know that it's edgy as fuck.
And body morphing.
You know there's some edgy material in here. This is definitely edge of the past few years. If you're looking for edgy, over the top, cold-blooded murder for no reason, that's what you go to.
Alright. So I know a little bit about the story, but like,
So yeah,
I need you to tell me a little bit about it.
the
'cause
basics
it's
of the story. So
beautiful.
you have this old man, old Japanese man. He's kind of just living his life. He has a shitty life. His wife hates him. His kids hate him. He has a shitty job, and he goes and talks to his doctor, and his doctor tells him he doesn't have much time to live because he has something cancer, something like that. I can't recall what he had, but he doesn't have not even a few months to live.
Mm.
And so, he's a pathetic beta old Japanese man. He can't even bring it to tell his family that he has this. And so one night he runs away and goes to a park where him and some other mysterious boy are there in this park. They don't exchange words or anything. They just see an alien ship slam down on them, which kills both of them.
Mm.
But the aliens, in a way to hide their what they've done, they rebuild them with alien technology. They completely rebuild them from the ground up, and their entire insides are just alien, but they still have their memories and personality and everything. And so he wakes up, he's figuring out that he has all these superpowers. Essentially, he's basically some kind of crazy super robot.
Who can actually like fucking like stab the eyeball the fucking like Yakuza member.
He has crazy things like guns, lasers, missiles, all this kinds of stuff.
Alright, but that's not the premise.
But that's just the precursor.
That's the setup.
Because then the second episode brings in over the other person who was there, that kid. I guess he's in high school, and he's fucked in the head, and so he's figured out what his powers do, and his main power is that he can point his finger and some kind of like laser bullet type of gun happens, and he shoots people. Actually, I just broke that. Yeah, so he keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since that, he's been trying to feel alive because he sees himself as this robot, and now he's trying to feel emotions and all this stuff. And so he just goes around to random houses at night, murdering people, just shooting families, killing them in cold blood, so he can feel alive. And there's some dark shit in there.
But
there's even
with the protagonist. What's wrong with it?
So, and then at the very end of the second episode, they meet each other. So he thinks after the high school kid goes and kills a family, a little child and all, it was very brutal.
Yeah.
And the old man he hears these voices. He has this kind of supersonic hearing, and he hears this family crying out after they're being murdered and everything. And he goes to the house and he sees the kid. The kid just thinks, "Oh, you must be the grandpa." Shoots him in the head, walks away. But Inuyashiki, the old man, he gets up, and then the kid, stares at him. He goes, "Oh shit, how did he survive?" And that was basically how the episode ended.
Okay, so this is the end.
And so they're, as far as I think, they're going to be face off against each other, where this fucking kid is killing all these people and he's trying to fuck up all of society, while the old man's trying to, save people. Yeah, he wants to save people, and stop this crazy psychopath high schooler. And that's the premise.
Sounds a little rushed for like the first two.
Oh yeah,
episodes,
it was like I said, the first episode focused on the old man, and then the second on the kid, and then they met at the end of it.
Mm.
But he's fucked in the head. It actually threw me off how brutal the murder scenes were.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's the fucking guy from Gans.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So that's exactly how I knew it was the writer from Gans. Once those happened, I was like, okay, something's up here.
This looks familiar, but I can't tell.
Yeah,
there it is.
That's it.
So
children being killed. That's it.
So, that's on your fucking note. Children being killed. Gotcha. Okay, so from what I know,
so let me speed it up here. So Mahotsukai no Yome, Magus' Bride, still absolutely probably the best show of the season.
It's pretty.
It's very pretty. The story is amazing. It's got some interesting mysterious things going on.
Mm-hmm.
The manga is extremely highly regarded for the past few years. I think it's only got good things coming. But let's see. We've got Shokugeki no Soma. I've been watching more of that, of course.
No, I need to catch up on it.
If you've seen the first or second season, you know what's coming. You know, we've got cook-offs and all that good stuff.
And orgies.
Cook-offs and orgasms from food, as per usual. What do you think, Santiago? What do you think about Shokugeki no Soma?
Definitely.
Oh, he thinks it's good. You want some of that, huh? You want some of those black pepper buns, the curry mabu tofu.
The pickled
Delicious. Delicious. It's good stuff. But
Yeah.
if you've seen any Shokugeki no Soma, you know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And then, lastly, I've been catching up again on Uchu Kyodai, or Space Brothers. It's aired a few years ago. Has a lot of episodes, 99 episodes, I believe. It went for a full year or 2 years of airing. It's about these two brothers. You've got the older brother who talked whenever the two brothers were young. They talked about going into space, becoming astronauts. And it turns out once they get older, the older brother ends up having a shitty job, shitty life, while the younger brother actually became an astronaut and is going to be the first Japanese man on the moon and all this stuff. But the older brother, he actually gets an opportunity to join, JPL and all this stuff, and become an astronaut. And so he's actually, you kind of follow his journey into becoming an astronaut and following his brother and trying to even surpass his brother in the future. So it's a really heartfelt story. It's very beautiful, and it's funny. It's kind of like a slice of life in a way, with some comedy and
Alright.
lots of space talk. If you like space and
I like space.
space, astronauts, those kinds of things, it's good stuff. It's
Okay.
just a very wholesome story.
So you got one show that's okay. What genre would you call that show? Inuyashiki, then Mega's Bride, and then
So Inuyashiki, that's probably
Action
mystery
shonen?
thriller
Yeah.
shonen. I guess maybe it's seinen at that point,
Oh,
ones
seinen,
with the
yeah.
kills and everything, but it's definitely like a thriller, I would say.
okay. And so you got a thriller. And
My
you
whole
got
Sky no
a-
Yome, that's just straight up fantasy.
Yeah.
As fantasy as it gets, with mystery and that kind of stuff. A little bit of drama,
Mhm.
and then what do you got? Shokugeki no Soma, that's straight up shonen.
That's straight up shonen, but
That's
it's a
battle
comedy as well.
Shonen comedy. Fate Apocrypha, that's just action shonen, of course. Uchu Kyodai, I would say maybe a little slice of life,
There
a
we
little
go.
drama. Seinen maybe a little bit. It's kind of a story for a little bit of an older crowd, I would say.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, honestly,
Alright,
you kind of
go
have me beat on anime.
Well, go for it.
Yeah,
Let's
but
hear
like,
what
I
you've been watching.
gotta.
I'm interested.
Let me see. So honestly, for anime, I did watch Mega's Bride, and I've only watched one episode. I thought it was okay.
Oh
It looks
wait.
pretty- What was it?
No. Did you watch the OVAs?
I saw Crunchyroll.
You need to watch the prequel OVAs.
So there's technically I saw 3 parts. Are those the OVS?
Yes, it was 3 episodes.
Okay, so then no, I did not see those.
You need to watch those beforehand. Those were technically not even part of the manga, but the manga creator made them as a prequel to the show to really talk about the main girl, Chise.
Oh, so
And
the manga sets
you-
it up already.
You learn about her entire backstory, which I think is really important to building her up as a character. Because if you watch the anime, you just think, oh, she's this quiet, girl who,
Well, I guess then I only watched one episode of the OVA, but I was really impressed by the animation.
Was she a very young girl? Talking about when she was very young, maybe like 6 to 8.
I don't know. Yeah, she did. She
Okay.
saw dead people and stuff like that.
Okay, so you're watching the OVA right now, so that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
there's that.
finish the OVA before
I'll
you start
watch
the
it.
series.
I was watching with someone, so I'll probably watch it with them. But
Yeah, so definitely finish the OVA before you start the series.
I'll say it has potential. I do like the animation for it.
It's,
I did. I don't know the studio for it. So would you happen to know the studio?
I don't know, but it's very well done. It's got to be
Okay.
something like A1 or definitely a higher budget studio.
Well, because I tried looking it up and it didn't even say it was A1 or anything.
Oh, it could be that
so
new
it could be
studio.
new.
I can't recall the name of one of those new studios that's been doing a lot of kind of higher end stuff.
But it's pretty good. On that note, let me see. I've been watching this new season lately, and I'm kind of interested in an anime called well, in English it's Recovery of an MMO Junkie, and in Japanese it's called Neju no Susume. There's kind of memes out for it right now, just a bit in comparison with the Watamote girl, the I'm Not Popular girl, if you know about her. But
Who doesn't?
I guess this crowd,
What did you just
the Holy Spirit doesn't know about it, so I'll say it. So here's a brief synopsis I wrote for it. So it's
Please, yeah, I don't know what it's about, so.
yeah. So after being let go from a high-paying position, a middle-aged woman named Moriko starts a new life as a shut-in, playing an online fantasy game as a male avatar. And what I really like about it is the bitch calls herself a fucking elite neat, and in Japanese, it's elito nito,
So yeah, if you don't know what a need is, that's someone who is not employed
or
in education
not in
or
education
training.
or training. Yeah,
Basically a shut-in.
yeah,
Or not a shut-in, but a leech to society.
yeah. Well,
They don't do anything. They don't work.
well, the
they don't-
Japanese are kind of really fucking like straight on with their fucking like.
Basically, it's someone
derogatory
who
terms.
doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
A freeloader.
yeah. But that's a more societal thing in Japan. So this girl, she's an elite neat. So like, the girl's got money, and she's paying the bills. Society doesn't care, and I mean,
Right.
from what I know, she's only been in the neat life for like a year
Okay, so
before she met this girl, who I can already tell you this is a romance anime.
okay, but she's as a male avatar,
She
so
plays a male avatar, and this girl, as you can already tell, it's already a dude. She doesn't know, but in the first 3 episodes I've seen, the guy already knows about her, and he only has a good suspicion. The girl's so totally oblivious, but she's so pure, man. Like,
I see.
and besides, other than that, the only thing I didn't watch any animes, but I have been told to watch Urusei Yatsura.
We'll just say Yatsura.
It's by the creator of Ranma One Half. It's really old.
Okay. Is it older then, or is it something new that he's made?
It's really old.
Okay.
And yeah, it's interesting because I've only seen it in GIFs and cosplay pictures. The girl in the tiger bikini.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so I need to watch that, but I've been told to watch it. So
I'm
kinda
sure
happy
it's
about it.
classic. Ranma One Half is really good, so I would just expect
Ranma, and I think it's also the guy that made Inuyasha. Actually, it's a woman if it is the case.
That sounds. I could see it. Yeah, I can see the.
Alright,
I haven't
but,
really looked into it, but
that's kind of what I've been doing in anime, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I've just been too tired and lazy to watch it. Other than that, I've kind of like been catching up a little bit on Hero Academia, and that's it.
good. So I just want to chime in really quickly about Maholtsukai no Yome. So Wit
Magus
Studio,
Bride, right?
Wit Studio.
The new one?
They're fairly new, but they've been doing some high class stuff. Like they've had producers of like production IG, so they have some higher end people making it. So
Yeah, that's good.
Shingeki no Kyojin, of course, if you've seen that, that's of course high end animation.
What's Shingeki no Kyojin again?
Attack on Titan.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's
Wait,
the
I thought
studio.
that was A1.
Technically, they kind of do both. Wit does some of their own stuff and they collaborate, but that's the kind of animation that you're seeing. It's some high quality stuff.
So it's kind of a small studio that gained its foothold through Attack on Titan.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely their most popular thing they've ever done.
Okay, that's interesting because
So-
hey, I hate Attack on Titan, but if it gives
Yeah.
jobs, it pays the bill.
Yeah,
There you go.
Even if you hate Attack on Titan, you can't say shit about the animation.
No, dude, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's so beautiful. But I hate Attack on Titan.
I understand. But yeah, it's good looking.
Why do you hate Attack on Titan?
Because I read the manga and it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
They can only keep up the suspense for so long
yeah, it's
until
all suspense and no.
everyone's a Titan.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
I bet they're on the back of the Titan and they just think that it's the world. There you go. That's my spoiler.
I wouldn't be surprised,
I wouldn't
honestly. At this point, everyone's a Titan, including Earth.
be. Gaia. Alright, so
Alright,
we
so
can move to the next segment.
yeah, let's
which
jump
is,
into games, video games.
Oh fuck! Let me skip ahead.
So video
I'm
games.
out of order.
So what video games have we been playing in the past couple weeks? So I haven't really played much personally. I'm very busy with work and school.
Oh, that's all I have been doing.
Alright, well good. You'll have more than me this time. I had the majority of the anime. You'll have the majority of the video games. So
I know you've been watching and I've been playing.
yeah, exactly.
So. Alright.
So anyways, just in the past 2 weeks only, I've played some Cuphead. Played a little bit of that. Great game. Buy it. Please.
I'll get it
Well,
eventually
okay,
on the
well,
sale.
It's not for everyone, of course. If you like difficult games, if you like games that you really have to grind out, that you kind of you keep at for a long time until you progress, and it's rewarding because you progress. That you overcame a challenge. Then those are the kinds of games for you. I personally love grinding my head against hard games. Things like I Want to Be the Boshi, Wings of V. Just those kinds of games that you just grind and grind until you get past something, and you just feel so accomplished once you actually progress. It's,
I mean, Cuphead's fun, but like I don't want to pay the full price for it right now. I'll just wait on a sale or
yeah,
someone,
I understand
someone
that.
gift it to me.
But I
Alright, but
yeah.
nah, I need a sale.
And just a small bit for them. Congratulations on going platinum. That
Yeah,
means
definitely.
you sold over 1 million copies.
On Steam, right?
I think just altogether.
Altogether? Well, the
So,
stock, yeah.
over
You
1
guys
million
did it.
copies. Just two guys who just had
And
a
this
dream.
is an indie game, right?
It's an indie game made by only two guys, two brothers, I believe, that just had a dream to make a game. I think they took out like an extra mortgage on their house or something like that, or a loan, just so they could like work at it and try to make this game a reality.
Dude, I bet those were some tense moments for
Oh,
them.
absolutely. But
Oh.
it was their passion, and they worked
But
their
they
asses
had
off
the
at it.
house on the line.
Yeah, exactly. But they had a vision, they had a dream, they had passion, and it turned out well for them. So congratulations to them.
That's beautiful.
It's
bro.
a great
That's
story.
definitely beautiful.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'm taking it over, right?
Go for it, yeah.
Well, I don't have much to talk about in video games. I guess I just only have to brush up on a few. So I just wanted to bring up that there's a Halloween event happening on Overwatch that I've been bashing my face in, I guess, for loot boxes because I don't want to pay for them, which is a topic we'll talk about it.
Yes, so
But
just a quick, flash ahead here.
we'll be talking about microtransactions. And
Microtransactions,
loot
loot boxes, and just various things of the industry itself.
But for right now, I just wanted to bring up that right now Reaper has a new skin that they call Dracula, and I'm just gonna be straight up. I prefer the old one. He's Jack the Pumpkin King, and he got pumpkin out of his Glock. That's much more better than usual. Like, it's just the new one looks lame, and I mean, it's the only one I don't want to get. Yet it was ironically the first one I got.
Okay, fair enough.
So, but other than that, I've been playing a little bit about. Actually, I need to bring up Destiny 2 just for that.
Oh, so
I've been-
that's a bit of news, I suppose, but we'll.
No, I'm not going to talk about
Okay.
that. But I just want to say that I've been playing Destiny 2 since I got my Xbox running again. Bought a new power supply. Hopefully, it works for like the next 2 weeks or 2 years. But there are some big things in store right now since they fucking announced it and it just is on the homepage. But there's another game I've been playing that I really want to talk about. That's what's the genre that you'd say of
What do we got here?
you got Stellaris?
Stellaris.
The genre was this complex thing that I can't say.
It's a
but
simulation?
It's a simulation game, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I would
But,
put under that. Or strategy?
It's a strategy
Yeah, strategy.
simulation game.
Yeah.
So, alright, so I'll just sum it up as this. So, you play an RTS, galaxy-wide, sector-based game. You got these little zones that are like stars, and these little stars have like an X amount of planets and resources. Or if you're as lucky as me, nothing. So, you start your little empire, you expand, you get these resources, and there are other star empires that want to expand, and get resources and all this stuff. And just want to say that it's not looking so well for the Imperium of Mankind since I found myself. So, a little backstory on this. I made a custom custom race.
Okay.
And I guess the universe, I guess, when I started up the game, saw fit to put an NPC version of the Imperium of Man on the other side of the galaxy. And I found out after I got clusterfucked by 5 other empires. So, right now we're at a white peace, so it gives me time to ally with them, and hopefully we get into a federation. But, if you're into space sims, I really do recommend that. But if you want something that'll just grind your teeth in and feel new every time, Overwatch is definitely it. And Destiny 2, no offense, it's a grind to get good gear. And, well, if it's anything like Destiny 1, which I haven't played, but I know of, yeah, it's, you get shit content early on, but it builds up later.
I've heard comparisons of Destiny to something like Borderlands in a way. It's kind of your shooter RPG with you find loot and all this stuff. So I guess I'm sure if you liked Borderlands, then you might like that. Maybe
if you like Borderlands and with the control
Borderlands
scheme
with less memes.
Yeah, no. So I'm sorry. There's so much crack videos on there. It's become a meme now.
I get it. I got you. But not forced in memes.
No. If anything, I've heard actually, that's in the news segment. But the PC port came out, and apparently it's a lot more better than the console version for sure, because of 60 frames and it just looks prettier. But there's some news coming up right now. That's for sure. So,
yeah, we'll
Sean, would you take it away right now?
Well, actually, we still have one more recap to work on here.
All right,
don't skip ahead. What
what's
doing?
the recap?
You dirty casual.
All right, you're fucking little dirty casual.
Reading. What have we been reading?
Okay. See, I had to skip ahead.
Exactly.
So I didn't put it in order.
We've got one more reading thing.
All right, so I'll let you start off on this.
I haven't been physically reading with my eyeballs, but audiobooks, of course.
Who has time to read nowadays?
Readings for
even manga.
Readings for gaylords.
After watching a YouTube video now, the sound and Linkin Park music.
So just in the past 2 weeks, I listened to On the Way to a Smile. On the Way to a Smile, an audiobook by thelivestream.net. Absolutely amazing job by them. It was many years in the making for them. They translated the book from Japanese, or the novels from Japanese. They got a bunch of people to voice various characters and had music put in, and it was a really high quality audiobook. But if you don't know what On the Way to a Smile is, so it's in the Final Fantasy VII universe.
Oh, with Cloud and all that shit?
Exactly. But it takes place in between the setting of Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, the movie. It's
in between.
Exactly.
Right?
So after what happened at the end of Final Fantasy VII, the gang split up. They went to do their own things, and On the Way to a Smile kind of recaps from individual perspectives of each of the characters about what happened from those times to the 2 years after when Advent Children started. It's kind of interesting because here in the West, no one heard about that book really. And back in 2005, we got the book. Not the book. We got the movie Advent Children, but really the movie is not complete without reading the book beforehand, or at least listening to it. Because there's a lot of stuff missing if you just go straight into Advent Children, the movie. Like, who is Denzel, the little kid with geostigma, and what is geostigma?
Oh.
And who are the 3, white-haired chaps who just want to find Genova and fuck up Cloud?
Little whiny teenagers?
They're not teenagers.
Okay,
they're
but
definitely
they still act like
they're definitely in there. Yeah, they do act like children, and that's for a reason, and that's all explained in the books, which is why I think it's kind of interesting that none of that content was publicly released outside of Japan for years, for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you read those novels or listen to the audiobook On the Way to a Smile, Advent Children becomes so many times better than it was, and it really just characterizes a lot of the characters. That kind of delves deeper into their stories as individuals, because of course in the game you recruited them along the way,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just part of your party to take down Shinra and then eventually Sephiroth. But you really learn a lot about them as they were as people, as individuals in the novels.
Mm.
And then it really just builds up this huge hype up to Advent Children and everything that happened there. So that was absolutely
I
a
have
treat to
no,
read.
I have Advent Children, and I gotta say it looks pretty, but kind of a real clusterfuck. So I'm hoping that
But
if I get to listen to this audiobook,
But
maybe it'll clear things up.
have
and
you
I
played
might
through
like
Final
it.
Fantasy VII?
Not at all, but I
Okay.
do know.
Okay.
I've had at least 7 years of people telling me everything about it.
But you need to experience it, and there's a lot of stuff. It's okay. So Final Fantasy VII is one of those weird cases where there's so much to it, where there was even a prequel made on the PSP.
And an anime prequel.
Yeah, it didn't cover everything though.
It's a 3-episode
So-
OVA.
Yeah, exactly. But there was an entire game, Crisis Core, that was made on the PSP.
I did play that for a bit.
That covered Zack Fair, and the story of him being in Soldier, and the various things with him as a person, and Aerith, about her character and how their relationship was, Zack's and Aerith's relationship before they even met Cloud or knew who Cloud was.
Mm.
Because it's kind of interesting, because you can play all the way through Final Fantasy VII and only hear Zack's name once, maybe twice, unless you really go looking for him. But he's actually such an important character, and if you don't know, he's the entire reason Cloud is who he is in the game.
You got the ball rolling, basically.
Every one of, because here's a spoiler, but
Yeah, go on, we don't
something
care.
it's something that you wouldn't know unless you really delved into it.
Mhm.
But in the game you can find a flashback to a few years back before Cloud ever made it to Midgar. So at the beginning of the game, Cloud finds his way to Midgar after presumably being part of Soldier, and he meets up with his childhood friend Tifa, who tries to get him to join Avalanche to take out
The
Shinra.
rebel group.
Exactly, the rebel group Avalanche.
Because he knows the inside.
Exactly, but really what happened was that you can find this in the game, and then if you learn through Crisis Core, that there was a flashback where Cloud was actually in a fucking test tube for I think 5 years, being experimented on by Hojo, the mad scientist. And
Is he conscious?
he was not conscious. No, he was literally just being in a test tube. He was one of the Sephiroth. He was being made into one of the Sephiroth clones, who was being injected with Genova cells to become a clone of Sephiroth.
Hmm,
And
okay.
eventually what happened, he was in Nibelheim Manor, the place where he grew up, and that's where he was held. Zack eventually found him towards the end of Crisis Core and broke him out. And Cloud was basically just a vegetable at that point. His brain dead. Just a
But he had
vegetable.
a childhood friend.
Yeah, that had happened beforehand. He still had his memories from, before he left a soldier. Because, so Cloud left a soldier to become he left a Shinra to become a soldier, to become a first-class soldier like Sephiroth.
But instead he was
But-
becoming
But he
Sephiroth.
failed. He actually failed. He was not strong. He was not talented. And he failed. And he eventually came to be experimented on and injected with Genova cells
Which made it
to become
into
a
a soldier.
to become a Sephiroth. He actually never became soldier. Not once was he ever part of soldier. But he thought he was, right?
Yeah.
That's in the game. You always think he talks about being an ex-soldier. Well, that's where Zack comes in. So after Zack broke him out of Nibelheim and was escaping with Cloud while he was in his vegetative state, Zack used to just talk about his experiences in Soldier, and he used to talk about all of the things he did, the missions he went on. He would, show him like sword techniques and all this thing, even though Cloud was kind of brain dead at the time. And he talked about all this stuff while he was escaping with Cloud, and eventually Shinra found them, and they actually killed Zack. They shot him down, but Cloud was able to crawl away in a messy stupor, and eventually once Cloud kind of came to a long time later,
right?
he was in the Midgar Wastes, which is a desert outside of Midgar, and he came to. He got himself to Midgar, going through the wastes, and that's when he met Tifa. And by the time he got back up to like a normal state, all of his memories were actually Zack's memories. Every story he had, everything he knew, was all just things that Zack had told him. And so he actually couldn't even remember his own memories, except that he knew Tifa from back in his childhood. And so he doesn't even...
So people believe he's a soldier.
Because he thought he was a soldier. He told everyone he was gone for years. But everything he knew about Soldier was from Zack's perspective.
Mm.
And that's why Aerith, whenever she meets him, she says, "You're a lot like someone I used to know who was in Soldier." Because Aerith knew Zack.
And that's why he's trying to go at her.
Not necessarily, because he doesn't know her, but she sees Zack in him. Because he acts exactly like Zack would. It's interesting stuff, but I've already ranted on for like 5 minutes about Zack and Cloud.
Well, if I have something to say about...
But it's a very, very interesting story.
Advent Children,
it goes...
I don't think it's good. Story.
Well, please, before you make a judgment, I will say... Play
I'll
Final Fantasy VII, listen to the novels.
I'll give those a chance.
And then,
not Advent Children.
And then you will cry like I did. You will actually cry in excitement because you see all these things, you see all the characters coming back from their own personal journeys. And there's a lot to it. It's really good.
Mm.
But if you watch Advent Children just as a blank slate, yeah, it's actually kind of trash.
Yeah, as a blank slate. I'm just
blank slate, it's just some kind of trashy action movie with some weird story that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, the way I see it, I knew enough about Final Fantasy watching it. I just didn't understand the story of it.
You don't know the nuances.
Yeah, the nuances of this arc of Final Fantasy.
The nuances which make Advent Children so great. But that's why I don't think Advent Children should have been released without the novel.
Well, that's why I wanted to see the audio. I'll give the audiobook a shot.
They fucked up big time on that.
Alright, so...
But yeah, anyways, enough of me ranting about Final Fantasy VII.
What else have you been reading?
Doujinshi. We have Comic 1, 12.
Oh boy. I haven't done my research on that, man.
So, it's actually been fairly small, at least as far as releases that have been scanlated and put out. I don't know how many artists are actually there, but it's been fairly modest. There's been some good stuff coming out. No Asanagi, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get Asanagi and Comiket.
Well, I mean, I haven't been reading Doujinshi a lot, except, I did get my copy of, Himitsu how do you say fucking that?
Let's see, we've got Himitsu Soshuhin.
Yeah, Himitsu Soshuhin, which is one of Mogodon's works. The only way he'll ever get an excuse to get Ray out onto his actual publication and get a figure, in my opinion. But basically same cuck story you've seen.
Yeah, we've got the resident Mokodon fan.
Fuck you.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I don't know anyone who's a bigger fan of any artist that you are, Mogodon.
Well, I have a few artists I follow. One of them I follow is Hotengeki.
Okay, I know Hotengeki.
You do? Okay, we could talk more about that, but he's a fresh and up-and-coming artist, in my opinion.
I follow a few. Well, I don't follow them closely, but I see a lot of recurring names. You know, in the Doujinshi fields and H manga fields.
Well, I know Hotengeki.
I've heard the name many times.
Okay, well, there's Hotengeki, but I guess I'm just gonna talk. You're finished with your reading, right?
Yeah, so that's about all I've been reading, at least in the past 2 weeks. I won't get into other things I've been reading beyond that. Maybe some other time if I want to make some recommendations, but we've kind of dragged on because I ranted for too long anyways, but
no, that's fine. We got plenty of time in the podcast.
Exactly.
But for me, I've been well, rather, I've been listening to a few books. I'm only gonna brisk through a few. So the first one I've been reading or listening to is a Warhammer 40k book called Primal Gender by Josh Reynolds. And if you know anything about 40k, or anything about the Emperor's Children, you're definitely gonna know this one name, Fabius Bile, and it's his book where it goes into his adventure more or less as a rogue space marine medic. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it that I really like, but I'll just skip ahead. It's really not that important. You just have to experience the book if you've already know the background. But I'm a huge 40k nerd, so I got a good chance at reading it at work.
We definitely need to do some kind of 40k playing. That's some. Well, actually, I don't have enough money for that. Sorry.
I do have a. I'll fucking buy you a Dawn of War original, all the expansions too.
Oh, you
Just
mean
so
the
that you
game?
can-
No, I have the games, but I'm talking about like over
What
the
about-
tabletop.
Okay, there's
Tabletop is where the money, the cash money comes out.
well, you'll already see this wall, this stand. There's already fucking like Imperial Guard up on there. I've got a Lehman Russ tank that has yet to be fucking fixed up. But I'll skip ahead on that. That's not really important. People can't even see those
Yeah,
miniatures.
maybe I'll show a picture one day.
But another book
good
I've been
wall.
reading, or rather listening to, and this is a 3-part book, is The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
So what's that? I've never heard of it.
It's a very, very deep book about one guy's experience, and among many others that he listened to,
Mm-hmm.
about this kind of like I'd say kind of prison camp for state criminals in Russia. And it's just this one guy's experiences, among many others, of first-hand accounts on, gosh, what's it called? I just don't remember the name for it, but it's basically there we go. It's a concentration camp for state criminals that the Soviet Union deems unnecessary in their society.
Okay.
And a lot of the stories just goes like, it just hammers home how like these people really believe that paradise was coming for like everyone, and like apparently like even the people in the prisons believe that like no, like I guess I was the problem because like it's just a very hard psychology book that like just gives you like the idea of how fragile the human mind is.
Okay, interesting.
But on a brighter note, I've been actually reading the manga Blame, and
Okay, I've read a few chapters, but I really haven't gotten deep into it.
I've been pretty deep into it. I mean, it's not that hard to fucking finish it.
Yeah, I mean,
finish it in
there's
an
like
entire sitting.
barely any text in it. It's
Yeah, but I like to say this. Blame is basically a sci-fi fantasy. Right, fantasy, right? Because it's way too fucking far.
I mean,
into
I
the
would just say
future.
sci-fi.
Alright.
Is more so its genre.
Okay, it's a
I
sci-fi.
guess.
I know sci-fi cyberpunk fantasy
Yeah,
world where like
definitely.
it revolves around a character named Killy who is in a constant search for this, I guess, human who has this thing called the net terminal gene, and it's not really explicitly said what this gene does, but apparently it's supposed to fix everything that's
they
going
kind
on
of
with the world.
they kind of show things implicitly like that what it might do.
Mm,
or whatever.
definitely.
Yeah, they kind of give hints.
Oh yeah, definitely. And well, I have reason to believe. I mean, this is basically spoilers because I've read the manga once over already,
Right.
and this is kind of like my second iteration, only because I found out there's a new volume series coming out, an omnibus volume series.
Okay,
So
so
it's
is it
kind
like
of like
a
his new stuff.
sequel or?
No. It's basically
Alright.
his old stuff, but it's in an omnibus form. So
Oh,
you've got
okay,
like
so
a
they're
few more
filling
volumes in
filling
there.
in some chapters,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
No, it's a collection of like volume 1, 2, and 3 kind of thing.
Oh, you mean
But it's
okay, yeah, like
recent
that. Okay,
because
gotcha.
of his, he became so big that like they saw a reboot of his old manga, a
Oh, yeah.
necessary thing.
What was that? Kisei?
Tsutomu Nihei, by
Nihei,
Tsutomu
Nihei.
Nihei.
Why is it
A
Kisei?
very good person who does great background. I'll just skip ahead on this. I believe that like, because in the early chapters he had this kid and he kind of gets like shot down dead,
Mm-hmm.
and boom, he's dead. And he's going on through this journey, and near the end, I get the feeling that it's not. You just have to go back to the first chapter of the manga and just continue from there because he's just cycling through, going through this like entire like what's it called? Megastructure kind of like.
Yeah, I
city.
mean, how big is the world supposed to be? It's like multiple times the size of Jupiter or something like that.
No, actually, from what I know from the forums,
I can't
they
recall.
say it's orbiting. It's the size of this city structure has gotten so much bigger than Earth, basically. Like,
Right.
It's just constantly growing.
Yeah.
But they say, and I really find this improbable because it just doesn't make sense. But it's as big as the orbit. I mean, as large as the orbit of Jupiter. The outer orbit.
That's
of
what.
Jupiter.
That's what I knew something about Jupiter. So,
Like,
but yeah, I know because what is it?
it's so huge, man. You
there-
know that your mama's so fat she block out the sun.
But yeah, I know some chapters it's
Literally.
like he's literally been walking for like hundreds of years or something like that, right?
He's taken like 20-year naps just so he can like cycle down, get power, or like heal up.
Exactly,
'Cause
yeah,
he's not
but-
a human. He's like a cyborg.
Right.
Terminator
He doesn't
human.
age like humans, right? Yeah. So, but he's just like, yeah, he takes hundreds of years to just walk through some of these floors of this mega structure because it's so insanely large and it's always growing because of the machines.
Oh, let me finish it
Which
off. This
I think it's super interesting. I
Let
like
me
that.
finish this off a bit, just so we don't rant out about Blame. It's a really good manga, but partway in through his journey, he meets this like doctor character who says, "I can get you the net terminal gene," and near the end, it's success. You know that like he gets this child with the net terminal gene,
Right.
but it got me thinking. Whoa, wait, go back to the first manga. Who the fuck is this kid? Like, he just dies in like the beginning chapters, and you should not. You just don't think about him again. So I just keep thinking, it's possible that Tsutomu he made a manga that just
Loops
back,
infinitely.
you know, infinitely. And it's just like, if that's the case, that's really impressive. And
But what's the super genius girl's name? The best girl.
Sibo,
Sibo, yeah.
yeah, like
She's
I
best
love
girl.
Sibo. You know, honestly, man, I've never met a
But
non-female
actually-
gal as attractive as Sibo.
Actually, it's funny. I was just arguing yesterday to a friend who loves that manga as well. That even though she's a genius robot, she's also a dumb slut because I said so.
No, I agree. You know, she's so flirtatious and like Keely's just dumb as a rock.
He could be hitting that robot pussy.
Yeah,
Even if
honestly,
she didn't have a pussy, she could make a pussy.
Yeah, there you go, basically. Fuck her right in the pussy. Alright, so
Okay, so anything else you've been reading, or are we?
I think we're out of the reading segment unless the Holy Spirit of Santiago wants to bring something up. Nope, I guess he doesn't read.
He's not even here. He's
not
a
even here.
ghost.
He's
Flew
a
out the
ghost.
window.
Alright, so
Okay, so anyways, we're gonna jump into news.
Oh,
So we want to
we're
jump
gonna
into
have fun.
just random news. We don't have too much news.
It's not, but it's gonna segue into our main topic, which is microtransactions that we really want to talk about.
But first, let's get into news. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We'll have a nice rant about that. Just random news. We just want to talk about, just some things that have interested us in the past few weeks, maybe.
Or today.
That's at least large. I know there's been a few like game releases and stuff like that. Okay, actually, how about this? Yeah, the Holy Spirit has maybe suggested a nice thing for us. Whenever we go to a new segment, let's clank.
Oh, fuck. We've gone to 3 segments already.
Yeah,
Actually,
we need to do a clank.
all right,
I think that's a
get
good
it
thing.
in.
When we go to a new segment, we clank, we take a drink.
Well, we kind of got really into it, so
Yeah, we
hopefully
did.
in the future we'll keep that in mind.
Well, we'll think about the clanks. Clank lives matter.
Definitely. So, right now, I'll say this. I do have something in news.
Yeah,
and,
go ahead.
Destiny 2 is having another season. Or at least second season coming. And
So yes, the PC port release, as you've mentioned
Oh.
earlier.
I haven't gotten into that yet. I'm just
my
announcing
mistake,
that
sorry.
it's having a second season. Which is content is going to be updated for second season, and you only get that content during that season. It'll be off that.
I
There's
don't
a
like
fucking
time.
jailbait.
I don't like timed content. I don't know about how
Yeah,
you
that's-
feel about that, but
I don't.
I hate timed content
I do
because it's really trash. Final Fantasy 15 most recently has done that as
Mhm.
well, where you've got content that you can only experience at a certain point in time, even though it's a single player game. I can
Wait,
I can-
that's the new one, right?
yes, that's the newest one. But I can see time release when you have an MMO. You know,
Mhm.
that's the only time I've seen it acceptable because you have a persistent universe, you have multiple people.
And Destiny's kind of an MMO. I mean, you play
Sort
with
of,
other
yeah.
people. I mean, once you beat the main campaign, that's it. You
But-
only have multiplayer stuff.
But yeah, I've seen a trend where other games have started to do this. Again, like you said, Final
Okay.
Fantasy 15, you had like the Chocobo Festival and stuff like that, and I think the Assassin's Creed Festival is also a timed release where you can only play it during a certain period of time, and then if you miss it, then well, too bad, you missed the content.
Definitely.
I just don't like that kind of trend. It's
Well,
I think it's a dangerous slippery slope.
well, I think it's like probably gonna stay for a while until like we the gamers say something, which we have, but not enough of us are.
But then
saying
you
it, I
have
guess.
publications who fight, the core gamer audience. I guess I would say.
Well,
And,
because honestly, they just don't understand how the business is. Like,
Well-
we gamers are really picky with our content.
it's kind of if you look at the I won't go off on a tangent here, but I'll just mention the majority of the gamer journalists and gamer publication
Okay, actually, you
audience
bring
or
that out.
the-
You say wait right
game
now.
journalists and game publications. We've got the shitters like Kotaku
Kotaku.
and all that kind of stuff. Many others I won't go off, but the thing about them is that they are journalists first, gamers last kind of people.
I wouldn't even say journalists first, but
But that's what
Yeah.
their end goal is. It's because they got into video game journalism because it's such an easy way in. It's probably the easiest journalism position that you can get in all of journalism. But they want to get a further position. They want to get into film journalism or book journalism, those kinds of things. But the industry for those is a lot harder. But game journalism, shit, you can be a little nobody and just get in there, and that's what they do. But they're not really gamers; they're journalists, and they
Do you mean like the pigeon tap? Actually, no. You said he was
no, he's
several years.
he's
into
20. Dean Takahashi, fuck off,
this.
piece of shit.
Dean fuck off Takahashi.
You're a fucking cunt. You're a piece of shit. Sorry to go off, but
No, I agree.
and you're over here defending Zoe Quinn, this fucking piece of shit liar who
I don't like Zoe.
who's talked about how she's faked her own mother's death essentially to get attention. She doesn't even talk about her real birth date. She tells everyone that her birth date was on a Friday the 13th years ago for attention. She's this pathological liar, and she's really just a scum, and who always talks about Gamergate and how bad it is, but that's the only reason she has a career is because she's built these lies off of Gamergate, and she makes tons of Patreon money being a victim, a professional victim, as you will. But anyways, Dean Takahashi has defended her recently in a most recent article.
He did?
Yes, just a few days ago, I believe. He said, there's been a few articles that have saying the exact same
What about Anita
headline.
Sarkeesian?
She's kind of gone off the record more recently after she finished her, Tropes versus Women.
You mean cut it off?
But she still, I'm assuming it's her talking on the Femme Frequency Twitter, just talking about how, women are marginalized in video games, etc., and how Gamergate has
Then
tried to
clearly
attack
they
women.
have not seen Reinhardt from Overwatch and how he's overly exaggerated with his
But-
muscular pecs
Of course not.
and
They,
biceps.
they just happen to miss all those things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But maybe we'll go on something like that on a different episode. But that's
Okay,
not our topic for this
that's not our
episode.
topic. Honestly,
Sorry,
that's
yeah.
not our topic, but like
I just had to do a quick rant. Quick rant.
a mini rant.
Mini
There we
rant.
go.
Baby rant.
But we still are on news. So you said Dean Takahashi did defend Zoe Quinn, and that's interesting. But what was your original point? You were talking about.
What was I talking about here?
Yeah, bring up your notes right now. Shoot.
So I thought you were going off on something, but anyways, anyways, my news topic for the
I was
week,
supplementing.
I guess it's kind of similar to what I was just ranting about, is that we can all press F to pay respects. Not really. Press F to spit on its grave of NeoGaf.
NeoGaf is gone?
NeoGaf is dead
Oh,
because
thank goodness.
the owner,
Sold the rights, or?
no, he was actually a sexual predator and sexually abused, I believe, maybe a couple women, but at least one, and that came out. And
At least one.
At least
enough.
one.
Enough. Just so you know, one is more than enough
And
to
one
get you in jail. And you should go to jail.
At the same time, one of its moderators was caught with distributing and collecting child porn, and so he was arrested.
That's not good.
And the whole site fell apart. Many
So no one wanted to inherit NeoGaf,
Oh, hell
basically.
no. They all just left it to die. Essentially, the moderators left. No one knew what was going on. The site was down for at least a day. But now they've been trying to rebuild a new website called Reset Era, which
Go on.
So now, okay, so to be a moderator of Reset Era, or even to be a member of Reset Era, if you are if you're a person of color or a transgender,
Oh god.
you can apply to be on their forum, and it only takes you. They'll look at your, they'll look at social media profiles of you and everything. You have to be verified to get on this forum first off, by the members of the staff. And if you're a transgender or a person of color, then they'll look at you and they'll approve you within 48 hours.
I feel like you can actually just get in easily. Okay.
But anyways, if you're a white person, then they'll take 28 days to go through various things about your social media profiles and everything to make sure you're not a quote unquote alt-right or gamergator, etc. And
Did
so
they really think that?
that's literally what was posted on their website. So if you're white, then don't even try to get in there.
What's their website?
Reset Era.
Alright, I'm joining, guys.
Yeah,
I'll see you there, man.
You're
You're
Mexican.
Asian.
You're a minority.
You're
can,
technically Asian.
I look white, but I guess I am technically Asian, so I've got a chance
You got a chance.
to get into their extremely racist and bigoted
Oh, fucking yeah.
thing, even though they think they're being
Special.
progressive and all that stuff.
We'll talk about having your foot up your ass so far.
Yeah, it's really disgusting
Yeah.
how unaware they are of how racist and crazy they're being. But hopefully that site dies too, because those kind of people seem to be the ones who are always sexual predators or people who love child porn. So
Well, I mean, I don't really have anything to kind of supplement that.
No.
Or anything.
that was just another rant on top of what I already had.
And that's technically
Sort of.
news.
It was news though. Yeah, NeoGaf
yeah,
is
that
dead.
news.
So
Alright.
let's all clap for NeoGaf is dead, because that website.
I'll-
It's actually funny. I just
I'll
want to.
click to that.
Let's click to that, because it's kind of funny that even the vice president of Xbox made a tweet saying, like, thank God that piece of shit website is fucking gone.
I actually, tell you the truth,
Pretty
I did
much.
not know much about NeoGaf until like just basically this year, I guess.
Yeah, they've always been extremely against anything that had to do anything with white people or anything that had to do with gamers. If your game did not have people of color or women as the main protagonists, then you could expect to hear a lot of things from NeoGaf. And also, what is it? They would go and attack, game creators and developers. They would try to dox them and things like that. It was pretty disgusting behavior. But I'm glad they're dead. But
Well-
I hope this new forum never takes off. But anyways, the only other news thing I have about this week is we've got Paris Games Week coming up next week. I believe from November 1st to the 5th to the public. I think they're doing a few conferences beforehand for a few developers. So hopefully maybe we'll see a few interesting games come out. It's kind of interesting that sometimes you see bigger releases come out in things like Paris Games Week or Tokyo Game Show and things
You
like
mean
that.
not E3?
Yeah, basically not E3. E3 is where you find the Dude Bro games, you know, the Call of Duties, the Battlefronts.
Okay. Yeah,
All that kind of
I'll
stuff.
defend Call of Duty with this at least. They're going back to the roots.
I can see that, yeah, with the new, was it World War II game, or is it World War One?
World War One.
World War One,
Well,
yeah.
actually, I don't think they even touched World War One originally.
Probably not. I mean, I guess World War One's kind of not. It's hard to do a Call of Duty game with World War One. I would say maybe not.
Well,
but-
because World War Two, as everyone knows, World War Two.
yeah, World Warfare. Yeah.
Yeah, World War.
I mean, World War One. You know,
There's that
Germany
future one.
against French and Russians and everything. But I
World
guess that
War
was.
Two is more iconic.
Yeah,
if
it's-
anything,
it's
I
more
passed
iconic.
history with with Call of Duty 2 through 3.
Yeah, the original Call of Duty, I loved them, but yeah, I'm glad they're at least trying to go back to that instead of doing the whole modern warfare and the space warfare kind of crap.
You mean with Jon Snow?
It's not going there.
Yeah, okay.
But anyways,
okay.
yeah, so Paris Games Week, let's look out for that for next week. Hopefully there'll be some good releases, because yeah, again, sometimes they release bigger games there than they show here at E3, which is kind of cool, so Paris Games Week.
Well, I mean, the only news things I have is, because I don't know the date for this day, but it is Kamikaze. Kamikaze is coming soon, which is Stan Lee's convention. And if you're any fan of comics, I do recommend you check it out. I did go maybe 2 years back with a few people. I enjoyed myself. It was in Vegas, so hey, when you're in Vegas, you know what you should. What is it you should do? Drink up, brew up, have fun.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, all that.
Well, that's not true ever since YouTube and live streaming and Twitch. So, alright, so right now I guess I just have to talk about.
We done with news, I guess? You know,
No,
any more
actually,
news
I
topics?
have one last news topic,
Okay.
which is it relates to Destiny 2 and that
Yes.
PC release.
The PC release of Destiny 2.
So, unfortunately, actually, I'll just give a positive right now. Destiny 2 on the PC looks fantastic as fuck. 60
Definitely.
frames per second. Like, you could go 4K if you have it.
Juicy, yeah, of course, you know,
But
modern AAA games, beautiful.
let's talk a little bit about that rogue ban bot that's going around.
So, okay, so I've, just a precursor, there was a lot of people that seem to have been mysteriously banned, not even before they played the game, while they were, like, just started the game up,
In the
banned
menu, I
immediately.
guess.
Banned before even starting a game.
Exactly.
But, okay, so Bungie released a news, or I guess a response.
PC port?
Oh no, I was gonna say they actually released a response. I think it was yesterday, talking
No.
about it.
Oh yeah, they
which,
did day one.
Which they said that the bans were not of a bot; they were all manual, and there was about 400 of them done
Bullshit.
manually. And that's what I think. I think it's bullshit too, and I think they're trying to cover their asses because there were people that were banned
Before they even got to the menu.
before they got to the menu, before they started a game, and for various things like okay, so
Okay.
if
Well, let's go into a little bit of why these guys are getting banned.
Right.
So, what's happening right now is I'm assuming it's an anti-cheat system in the game, but this anti-cheat system is targeting third-party software that is usually related to overlay, which is kind of like injecting of code into the game.
right.
So, if you've ever used anything like OBS or hell, even the Microsoft freaking or NVIDIA recording software,
hmm
you could potentially get banned for that.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird things too. Discord, if you were using the
Discord.
if you're using the overlay function on Discord, there were things like that. Shadowplay,
Shadowplay is one of them.
MSI Afterburner, but even people reported having Cheat Engine on their desktop or just on their computer. But if you don't know Cheat Engine, yeah, it sounds like oh okay, of course they were cheating with Cheat Engine, but Cheat Engine is not for that. Cheat Engine is actually a debugging program used for video games, so you can actually, of course, debug them.
And
And
inject code.
it's a software program,
Mhm.
you know, type of thing. But they were banned just for
Having it.
exactly having it on their computer, not even running.
Well, so it's just it looks like Bungie doesn't even want to explain what's going on here. If that's the case, then well, I assume this would have been a fixed problem immediately within a week or two. But if that's the case, then
Yeah, that's a bit
they
scary.
don't want to admit that they have
That they
they've been
messed
looking
up.
at your computer and that they accidentally slipped
Exactly.
up and revealed that they were looking at your computer.
Yeah, so that means they were looking at people's computers, finding programs, and just banning anyone who had certain programs or certain things running in the background.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's pretty scary. It's, first of all, they're putting things on that they can look at all that stuff on your computer. First off, kind of sketchy, and then second off, just banning people just for running certain things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's super sketchy, and they did not admit to anything decisive. They just said that they did the bans manually, and they did it for people who were cheating, even though, of course, like I said,
There's really no proof that they were.
Anecdotal accounts of people being banned before they even started a game.
And this isn't just a small ban, like for 2 weeks. This is a perma ban.
Permaban, and they said there's no recourse. You cannot appeal to one of the permabans.
Yeah, and this is a Blizzard.net thing, and it's a kind of amazing that, well, Bungie, but they're working through Blizzard.net
Sure.
with the PC port.
Right, yeah.
And that's
Activision.
why it's better. Activision was, I guess, and it still is. And but I have heard that the PC port is really good.
I'm sure it's good if you can get it to work,
good.
but
beware.
Beware and be very.
You could be wasting $60 or if you are like me,
$100
for the special edition with the DLC.
And then you get banned as soon as you start the game.
Exactly. So you might as well start low and buy that season pass if you manage it after an hour. Well, hopefully they'll fix it in a bit. But there we go. We got the rant segment coming up, right?
Alright, so I guess let's
That's kind of all the news.
I guess it's kind of our main topic / rant. I guess it kind of ties in.
Actually, there is a news thing that just happened recently. There was an earthquake apparently nearby.
Oh, in Lompoc. So okay, so we're here in Santa Barbara.
So we didn't feel a thing.
About what 50
4.5
mile 40
earthquake.
Yeah, 4.5
What's up?
earthquake.
I don't even remember.
I believe it was
I think maybe around 2 to 4.
yeah, sounds somewhere around like 2 o'clock. I think
Noon?
a big earthquake.
Yeah, in the
about somewhere
afternoon.
around noon. Yeah, in Lompoc.
Mhm.
So that's about 40-50 miles away from us, but earthquake in Lompoc.
I was in Goleta.
Fin-
I was working.
If anyone was in Lompoc, sorry your shit got shook.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should be fine, but I mean, you probably have stuff on the ground and plates shattered.
It was probably the most exciting thing that had happened in
Yeah.
quite a while.
I would say so.
Definitely. But then I guess that closes off the
Yeah, so we're doing news.
Yeah, we're done with
so
the
okay,
news.
so
We should clink.
usually
Let's clink to get the news going. I mean, get the stuff going.
okay, so this time usually what we're gonna do is a main topic, and then we'll do rants after. But this main topic kind of ties in with rants in a way.
Yeah,
Even
at
though
least for me.
even though a few of us have already ranted here and there.
And
But this is talking about loot boxes and microtransactions in the video game industry.
the
Not-
current state of
Actually,
video
not even
games right now.
not even fully the video game industry, because Twitch as well. But we'll
Oh,
get into that.
you're right. Yeah.
I guess let's jump in. I'll jump into Twitch first, and then we'll jump into video games. So, Twitch has recently. It's Halloween time, of course, but now they've released loot boxes on Twitch that you can buy, which you can have a chance to get certain Halloween themed emojis. You know, their emotes.
Don't you know, bitches love emojis.
Bitches love
Bitches
emojis.
love that smiley face.
But you can buy loot boxes on Twitch to have a chance to get, emotes
So wait,
for a limited time.
You're buying to win a chance?
You're buying a loot box to have a chance to win an emote, which you can only use for a certain period of time, and then it's gone.
Well, so you're buying it just to use it for a little bit of time?
Exactly.
That's-
You have a chance to use it for a certain short amount of time, or you can pay. I believe it's something like $60 to buy the zombie kappa and use it permanently. $60 to use a permanent emoji.
You know, I will defend Twitch for this. At least they have one item they can do that, but like $60 for a zombie alpaca or a zombie kappa.
A zombie kappa. But otherwise, the other zombie / Halloween styled emotes, it's in a loot box form, and you can only use it until after Halloween.
Wow, that's pretty lame.
It's absolute maximum greed.
Yeah,
And
I'll give you that.
it's following the trend of the video game industry of maximum greed
Woo.
too large budgets for their bank.
Hmm.
So the video game industry, of course, have as video games have gotten more developed,
Oh yeah.
they require more employees to make them, more development time, and larger budgets, of course.
But we've
And,
seen examples where that isn't the case. So.
yeah, so you of course see examples where you don't have to have some kind of massive
Like
budget.
two brothers make a fucking video game that
Exactly,
fucking
like
makes millions.
I mentioned earlier, Cuphead. You had these two brothers who, just made this indie game, and what they focused on great art style, great continuity, great gameplay, and guess what? People love it. People absolutely adore it. They love the gameplay. They love how it looks. They love how it plays, and they sell over 1 million copies in just a few weeks.
Yo, I don't even want to pay for the game, but I gotta admit, it looks good.
It looks
It
great.
looks good. It looks fun, but I just
it-
don't want to pay the game yet.
This is a case where, like I said, that you don't have to have these crazy graphics, this insane multi-million-dollar marketing campaign, this huge, focus on.
You don't need a 2-minute window slot on TV to advertise your
Yeah,
game.
exactly, just to advertise your game and spend millions and millions, even up to hundreds of millions of dollars developing your game.
It's still the case though.
That's what happens, but you can see that some cases where you don't have to have that, as long as you make a good game that appeals to
Yeah.
gamers. You can make a lot of money because gamers appreciate that.
And word of mouth does spread quickly like wildfire.
Again, another
On
one
the internet,
recently this year, Nier Automata. So
Mhm.
Nier Automata had a pretty. It hasn't been released, but they've set it as a very modest budget for a Square Enix game, Square Enix / Platinum Games, that they gave to Yoko Taro, and they gave him a very modest budget. He made an insane story. He got Platinum Games to make a great game system.
Indeed.
Made some kind of crazy mixture because he's a mad scientist. And guess what? He sold an insane amount of copies. They said it went. Square Enix made a statement saying that it went so far extremely above their sales expectations that they were just completely blown away, because he made a solid game with an extremely solid story that appealed to people who actually play video games and not people who write about video games. Even Platinum Kamiya, the director of Platinum Games, or he's either the director or producer, Kamiya,
Mhm.
the bald man who makes great tweets.
I don't follow him on Twitter.
But anyways, he mentioned a few after the dust had settled and they sold
Mhm.
a lot of copies. He said that Yoko Taro literally saved Platinum Games from
Obscurity.
going under, because it sold so much and they made so much money. Because
you mean Bayonetta and what other games did it?
they make the new Ninja Gaiden games and stuff like that. They make some obscure games that usually don't sell too well.
Okay.
But he said they literally saved Platinum Games because he made such a solid game that just sold so far beyond their budget.
And expectation.
Exactly, that he saved Platinum Games. And it wasn't because he had some massive budget. He didn't have crazy time slots on TV.
It's just he had a vision.
He had a vision.
And a time slot that he wanted to meet.
He made a game that was good. That's all you have to do.
Alright, but
You have to make a good game.
let's talk about our main topic. So now that we have that example going on, this
So
is
anyways,
what
yeah.
it is.
So we were just talking about you don't have to have these loot boxes and microtransactions to make a good game and to sell it to make money. But some other companies in the industry believe that the only way to make money is to sell such an absorbent amount of add-ons and microtransactions, or sell things as loot boxes, that's the only way you can really make money. Or at least exploit gamers for money.
I'll vouch for that at least, because I mean, loot boxes. I play a game called Overwatch. If you haven't heard of that,
Oh yeah, no one's heard
and
of it.
yeah, definitely no one's heard of it. And I'll say this: you could buy loot boxes, or you could just work for it. And before, the incentive is that you'd want to buy a loot box because it'd give you a better chance to get what you wanted. And right now, there was an old RNG system that has been replaced with a better one. So you're guaranteed not to get a duplicate of a skin, a spray, or
That's at
anything of
least
these types.
yeah, that's at least
Yeah.
decent.
But before, it was crazy because I had 3 Reaper skins in a day of the Halloween Reaper skin in the same day of the Halloween event, and all I got was one skin and a shit ton of gold. So there's that.
But I would say in general, unless it's a free to play game, I really
Yeah.
hate the inclusion of loot boxes.
and microtransactions.
Yeah, I mean, I've always hated microtransactions, but I can really exclude them for very specific cases, wherein you've got a case with maybe you get cosmetic things like Persona 5, you can get like some costumes or whatever that are just kind of throwbacks to the older Personas or the Catherine games. You can get cosmetic things. Sure, people want to spend the money, go for it. It's not in a loot box. You don't have to gamble for it. You can you can just get it definitely. You can pay for that if you so choose. But whenever you start locking important content or things that halt
right?
in things that can halt progression, that's when I really see a big problem.
You mean with what was it, Shadows of War from the Lord of the Rings game?
So yeah, a game that came out pretty recently, Shadows of War, the sequel to Shadows of Mordor, I believe it was.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a single-player game, RPG, in which you have loot boxes in it. And from what I've heard, these loot boxes grant you like things like gear, and stuff like that. Really helpful things to progressing in the game. And what'll happen is that once you reach towards the end of the game, you come across a point where unless you're grinding for many hours, the only way to really progress through the game is to just buy
Buy the
loot
box.
boxes, and you have a problem with progressing in the game because you've come across this paywall essentially, and I just have a problem with this as a business model.
I mean, yeah, there are examples. I mean, I'm just lucky that Overwatch is just a bunch of cosmetic items.
Exactly. So it's
So-
not as bad if you have loot boxes for cosmetic things only.
And plus, they give you an
But-
option to farm them in game.
I do still have a problem of the unregulated nature of loot boxes because one, they don't they don't really present it what it is. It's gambling.
It's gambling, and they punish the players for it.
They punish the players for it with terrible drop rates, and it's very obvious that they appeal it to children, younger teens and just children in general. They have
impulsiveness, basically.
they have these big flashy animations that appeal to a younger audience that would make them want to buy these and try to get everything, but they don't present it what it is. They don't present it as gambling. They don't have notice that comes up whenever you play this game saying to the parents who are paying for this stuff, you're paying for
a video game.
you're paying for these virtual items in a gambling system or something along those lines.
Well, the parents think they're buying just a simple video game.
Exactly.
The $60 is what they just have to pay. 30 if they're lucky.
But then
at
the
GameStop.
kids say, "Oh, I want to get this thing in my game," and the parents say, "Okay, here's $20 or whatever." But then the kids are sitting there just gambling the money, hoping they get this new skin or whatever it is. But the parents, they're a lot of them are of course out of touch and they don't understand that it's just gambling for this chance at something. It's
teaching gambling problems to
it is,
just the
yeah,
newer audience.
and it's really exploiting children, which is what I have the biggest problem with. And I feel like there needs to be some kind of regulations on it, or something to kind of.
It could be argued that it could be targeted towards an adult, so children aren't just. It's not really meant for children. They could probably use that excuse, and it just happens to be affecting them.
Right.
But video games are just kind of like that niche that people still don't see it as a big thing that's impactful in any way, and I get that.
Yeah.
I will say that at least Halo Wars 2 does have Halo Wars 2 does have a loot box system where you're incentivized to get cards in a mode called Blitz mode.
Mm-hmm.
And the more Blitz cards you get, the higher chance of you getting a certain card and leveling that up.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm level 3, and I just got lucky because I only got like one $20 pack because of chance and from the rest.
But yeah,
there's people who are just like level 9, just fucking wrecking people with simple units. So it's just giving you like a huge standard of buy us.
But yeah, again, like it's the biggest problem is like whenever you've got a game like that's a paid game. You've got Star Wars 2 Battlefront, and yeah, you've got pay to win advantages.
Yes, it's mine. AC is mine.
So you've got pay to win advantages if you buy these loot boxes essentially, and this is a paid game. It's not a free to play game. I guess in a free to play game, I still don't like it, but I'll excuse it just because it is free to play. And
money.
In general, you can usually work your way up to that. But if you're paying $60 for a game plus, $60 plus for a game, and then you have to gamble to get better items just so you can compete at the highest level, that's when it really is just such a greedy thing by these publishers. Because I don't think it's really the developers' fault. It's ultimately the publishers following this trend of the industry, and brain dead adults and children buying into it.
Basically.
In order to get advantages or just to satisfy their gambling impulses.
And there's also ways to incentivize it. I mean, there are certain items you can only get like if you pay or if you loot box them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Halo does have that issue. Call of Duty does have that issue.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be meta, you just have to put the money down, and that's just not a trend that I want to have continue in a while.
Yeah.
Or ever.
I feel like you should just, if you want to be meta, you should just get good. You shouldn't get cash.
All right. So that's technically a little rant segment.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah, it's a bit of it's a bit of our topic, bit of rant because.
So now we're at the rants, right?
Yeah. If you've got any rants to put in that are aside from microtransactions, then let's go ahead. So let's get into some rants.
All right. So Sean, what is your rant?
I don't really have anything besides, I guess, the microtransactions. For me, I think that's. You heard me rant about it. I don't like exploiting children and things like that for the gains of publishers. I think that's absolutely like such a disgusting business model.
Right.
Just because you can exploit children for money doesn't mean you should do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just such a disgusting. You've got to make some money, but really going to that level of exploiting people and young
really
people,
tough. Yeah,
it gets to the point where it's just kind of disgusting.
All right. Well, I guess my rant is usually going to be focused on Marvel because that just seems to be the trend that it's going towards.
Okay.
So I'll just give a brief snippet of what Marvel is right now. Marvel right now is undergoing a problem where they're having a what is it called, a diversity issue, and not that there's not enough, that there's too much, and
forced diversity.
Forced diversity is not good for anyone, but right now they're really just alienating their core audience by bot banning Twitter people just because of people they're following, and it just seems these content creators don't have just can't handle criticism. And it just kind of makes it look bad that a company like Marvel, a big company like Marvel, is just letting it get away like that.
Yeah, it's because they see this outrage, they see it on Twitter because, of course, the majority of the, I guess, the vocal people who are, attacking them are the people who use Twitter and use social media, but the people who read their comics probably aren't as much into that stuff. They don't use social media as much. They don't complain on Twitter, but the companies... of course, see this criticism, they see this outrage, and they think, oh, we need to appeal to this because they think that that's their audience.
They think.
They think that's their audience, but it's not really the people who are really reading it and buying all the comics. It's just people who are outraged about,
just this stuff.
diversity politics, which
it's just a whole subject that we don't want to get into, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like a poison.
It is. It's a poison. It's a dangerous. It's a poisonous thing where once you try to appeal to these people, they keep wanting more and they keep wanting to diminish what your core audience really likes. And
So let me just continue a little bit on the Marvel bit.
yeah,
Just the reason that they're not doing so is that it's not really affecting comic book, hobbyists or people who buy comic book. It's affecting comic book shops. So it's just the trend that they're just selling towards comic book shops and leaving it at that. Marvel, I mean. And so you just have these comic book stores, private individuals who just have stacks and stacks of Marvels that aren't selling, and it's just for Marvel, it's just like, oh yeah, we made our sale, we made our buck, and it's just going down the line, it's just killing these businesses, and it's affecting people because of these decisions that they're making.
Right.
You're alienating your audience. You're killing an industry, and it's just essentially not a good thing.
So
to do.
basically, the moral of the story is
Don't alienate your audience.
don't alienate your audience. Don't appeal to people who's not your core audience.
Basically.
Yeah. So
I mean, try to get people in. Yes, these, having diversity is good, but don't force it down people's throats.
Don't force it in just for the sake of you think that that's what people want. You really have to read into what your core audience wants, not what these people who don't read your comics want.
And on a short note, I'm just gonna say Halloween's not the same anymore, But I'm just only complaining because there's people who think that having your children dress up as Moana characters is a bad thing. Just let kids dress up as they want,
Yeah, there should be this racial restriction on what kind of costumes children wear. If a white or black child wants to dress up as Pocahontas or Moana,
or
let them do it.
Captain America.
It's because they like the character. It's because they like them. It's not because they want to culturally appropriate them.
No.
It's because they like the character, and that should be a good thing.
That's enough. That's enough for me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they like the character. Let them do that because that really
I mean,
encourages them to like those kinds of things. They like to dress up as things. They like to appreciate the characters.
plus, it's not just children; it's adults.
Yeah.
Hey, what if you want to dress up as Maui because he thought he was like a fucking G bro cool dude? But in short, I'm just gonna say, they took away our candy already, which is basically instead of going to 10 o'clock at night, it's at 5. Halloween ends at 5 or 7, and plus, having those special treats. Back in the day, I remember going to a house and having these special like cookies. Now you can't have that because somebody put poison in pixie dust, pixie sticks basically, and just it just ruins everyone's day. So it's just a surprise that costumes are now getting the short end of it.
Yeah, it sucks. But anyways, so let's jump into our last little segment here. So just a recommendation.
Yeah, let's recap.
So let's jump in here. So I'll do some recommendations here. So we want to recommend, I'll recommend an anime for people. My anime that I would recommend is Mahotsukai no Yome. It's starting to pick up a bit. Like I said, you've got the OVAs with Chise's backstory. Chise had a hard life. She had a really hard life, and she's a good girl. You need to respect her and respect her characterization, I think. But if you watch that and then you start watching the Mahotsukai no Yome anime, I think you'll really have an appreciation for the story, her character, and where it's going. It's very interesting. It's got some mystery. It's got some fantasy elements. It's again very beautiful. Made by Wit Studio, people who are making like Attack on Titan and things like that. It's good stuff. I think 3 episodes are out so far, but just keep up with that. And one game I would recommend, as I was ranting on it earlier, was Final Fantasy VII. So yeah, the game's over 20 years old at this point. But again, like I've said, the story is extremely deep. I think it really goes so far beyond what any other Final Fantasy VII has gone as far as story-wise, especially once you tie it together with On the Way to a Smile, you tie it together with Crisis Core and Advent Children. The story is fleshed out, the characters are fleshed out so far beyond any other Final Fantasy, and it really makes the story, and it's good stuff. And also you got Final Fantasy VII Remake coming eventually. I hope we get a trailer at least this year. It's been over 2 years, I believe, since we saw a trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm guessing a 2019, 2020 release, but it'll be amazing once it comes out. So, anyways, Edwin, what kind of things are you recommending for the good people?
Well, I'm just gonna give you the hyphen. I do recommend MMO Junkie. If you want a romance anime that's kind of set in the modern era, with just a little bit of elements of nerdiness and just just an interesting rom-com. MMO Junkie does have your fit. I mean, a lot of the humor is just more or less like just adult slapstick. Like, oh no, these couples in Christmas. I need to get out of here or else I'll die. Because this girl's been single for a year and just playing video games, and she's 30, maybe 30 plus. But I do recommend that as an anime. I do recommend Blame. It's a really good manga that you could probably just pounce through if you're ever sitting at a, Barnes and Nobles or Borders if they're still around. But if you have a manga app reader, you could breeze through that in like 4 hours, easy, or less. I mean, I took my time enjoying, a lot of it, and that's just kind of the fun about Blame. But lastly, I'm just gonna for video games, I recommend. It's just easy to recommend Overwatch since it's just a game that you could just get into. You've got so many flavors, no flavor is the same, and it changes the game dramatically. But I'm just gonna recommend Stellaris as a different game. It's an RTS simulation game. It has some depth to it. You level up, so it has some sort of RPG element. You do invest in tech and other weaponry, but it does have a fleet aspect to it, and that's kind of fun. Right now I'm being clusterfucked by 5 people, and I have my bros on the other end of that corner, so they're just outside of these 5 people, and I'm within.
Do you like being clusterfucked?
Hey, so far the Imperium of Man is surviving. God Emperor be praised. But, well, I mean, other than that, I'm just hoping to maintain this alliance with myself, the Imperium of Man,
sure,
as long as the Stellaris run goes. If I fail this, I'll just probably make a YouTube video on it, but that kind of ends my rants. That kind of ends my recommendation segment. So, I guess we should close off with a clink, and
so I guess let's clink one more time. I think we're done for today.
Thank you, Sean, for being here, and the Holy Spirit of Santiago. Thank you for
we heard him a few
here.
times, just float in from the window, and give his opinion.
Hopefully next time he won't be as shy and join us.
Anyways, thanks for anyone who's watching or listening, anything like that.
Like, favorite, and subscribe and share. We're not telling you to do it. It's not like we have a gun to your head, but like, if you like our content, you probably should show other people.
Anyways.
And
so we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
I'll see you Starside, guys.
All right, take care.
Late.